Well, hello. Let's talk about IQ, the intelligence of our species, of humanity. You know, if you just step back and kind of just took out all the white noise, right, and got a signal that was really strong, and that signal would be a representation of what our species has accomplished. I mean, in, some 10, 12,000 years of written history, we seem to have, well, at least grown in intelligence. It would seem like that, right? I mean, look, ask yourself, are you an intelligent person? I mean, do you think? Do you have a job? Do you have a skill? Do you have a talent, that a discipline that you've mastered? Do you have the ability to be able to learn, to be able to distinguish between what is self-perception and then what is knowledge? And I think in that term, that is what really intelligence, I would say, is determined. Now, the definition of intelligence, well, again, I think it depends on who's writing the test. But let's take for this program the assumption that the standardized intelligence tests out there are valid. We've all taken them. Well, most of us have. I've taken a couple of them. I know what my IQ score is. But I'm talking about humanity as a whole. I mean, if there's a collective consciousness, I wonder if there's a collective intelligence quotient. My question is, have humans peaked in intelligence? You look at what we can do today. We can literally recreate life. Now, that is, by even the hardest definition, you would say that a species that can do that would be considered to be very intelligent. Look at what we have built around us. We've built machines that now do most of our heavy lifting, the dangerous work. We don't have to expose human beings to that anymore. On a species-wide basis, we live, for the most part, a life of luxury. Yeah, I know that, you can get into all the economic and the social variance on that, but overall, we house ourselves today. We manipulate the environment. Most of us have homes that have heating and cooling systems in them. Now, our species learned a long time ago how to put those principles to accomplish much of what we do today. But again, we have machines. We have machines everywhere. And the machines are really us. They wouldn't have the intelligence unless we passed it on to them. So I don't know. Yes or no? Let me know what you think on that. But if you take the evidence would say that we have peaked. And that, in fact, our species is already on a rapid decline that may not be able to be averted. Here's just a sampling of headlines within the last 3-4 years. IQ score of people in the world are going down. The IQ of Europeans is dropping due to technology, says researchers. Are we becoming more stupid? IQ scores are decreasing, and some experts argue it's because humans have reached their intellectual peak. Why are our IQs dropping on a worldwide basis? IQ in decline across the world as scientists say we're getting dumber? Scientists believe a century-long rise in IQ across the world may be going into reverse. Have we passed our peak? Dumb and Dumber. Why we're getting less intelligent. Here is a graph that shows the population increase of our species since about 10,000 BC. And you can see that there have been peaks where there has been rapid increase. Now, albeit we were probably emerging out of a life-eliminating event. So taking that, and, it took us a while, but we got there. About 8,500 years. We grew and we grew and we grew. But if you take today, where we are and where we're still projected to go, this is getting to be a crowded place. Now, what most don't stop and think about, when you see a graph like this, most people just see the graph and say, yeah, all right, it's increasing. But now we have to add to the equation, what is the level of intelligence? I mean, if it's increasing and the population is also increasing, that's a win-win. But if it's increasing and the intelligent factor is declining rapidly, well, that's a lose-lose all the way around. It appears that this decline started in the mid to late 80s and has shown rapid escalation in the reverse. You have to ask yourself, well, what's going on? I don't know. We're going to try to answer that here in this program. On this graph here, this is the world IQ over time, starting back to 1950, where it was 91 point, let's just say 75, to where we are today, which would be right here. Let's go to 2020. We are now somewhere around, I'd say 88 and a half. And of course, you can see it, how it progresses all the way. Now, I don't know. I won't be around in 2110. Don't think I want to be. Because if this continues and the population continues, wow, that's going to be a hot mess. Here is another graph showing two different analyses. This is what they would call the original. These were taken from the countries, the test scores, and then put into a database. There is a professor by the name of Flynn who has a hypothesis that the data is showing to be, well, pretty accurate, actually. As you can see, it adds to the overall scores. And his theory is that the more prosperous a nation is in its population, the higher the intelligence scores go. And it goes that, you don't have to deal with poverty, you don't have to deal with the basic necessities of life, shelter, food, warmth, that kind of thing. And that populations that are by far more educated, thus the result. Anyway, that's how it goes, and you can see how it translates across the bars. Now, I found this one really disturbing. So this is the SAT scores that everyone takes if you're going to go into college. So we can see back around 1973 that the scores were very impressive. I don't know. They don't have a graph going back further. I'd be curious to see. But anyway, we use that for the baseline. And look what happens. There is a precipitously rapid decline in basically about 15 years. And then we begin to see a recovery, but that is nothing compared to what it was. It then continues back. And then in the 80s, we saw a rather steep curve up, but it plateaued. And the problem with that, when it plateaued, it was 75% less than where we started out at. And then look at what happened. Starting about 88, there is a very rapid decline in scoring, all the way to where we are here, where I believe this one ended in 2017. Now, what I found particularly odd about this graph is that if you study the rise and fall and collapses of civilizations, meaning us, much of the same graph. We seem to reach a pinnacle in our achievement, and then there's a rapid decline, and it only ends when, well, we kind of end. Now, I found this really particularly disturbing as well. Check this out. So we have this, well, I don't know, the old scale. Now that right there sets off red flags in my thinking. The old scale? What was the old better than the new? What was the necessity to change or modify the old? Well, they did. And we see the scores coming here using 1952 as the benchmark going out. Now, according to the old scale, both math and verbal skills basically maintained a consistency, as you can see here. And then in the year, and you can go right down here, about 1963, something happened. And the results of the data, these were the scores. Now, we didn't have computers that were doing the calculations and all that back there when I was in high school. We didn't have computers. I remember when the first calculator came out from Texas Instruments. And it was like, wow, that can actually do trigonometry. How cool is that? But in any case, look at what happens. Now, either the college board, whoever oversees the SATs, administration of the testing, I guess they became alarmed and said, well, we can't have this. So they came in with the new system, backdate the data. I find this really interesting. Here on the one course of verbal critical reading, it appears that they're using the year 1965, and here they're using 66. But somehow or another, they recalculated how the scores were administrated and how the data was collected. What really gets me on this is that even their baseline of redoing the system shows a decline. Now they're showing in math skills a rapid, steady increase. And by the way, that can be proven in a chart I'm going to show you. And then I find it interesting why they put reading scores in here. I mean, writing, excuse me. But again, still declining. Now, this is the world IQ over time. Overall, starting from, in this case, it looks like they're going back to about 1945, and they're projecting out to the year 2100. Why, look at that. I mean, that's a serious loss. Think if it was in your bank and you lost, nearly 10% of everything you had, gone. But interesting enough, look at countries like India. India outshines everyone. And that's representative by the brilliant minds that are coming out of India. Brilliant minds. It's quite remarkable. There needs to be a story on that. So if the current rate of decline continues, particularly in the West, we could see the collapse of Western civilization. And you don't believe me? Let's have a little fun here. This is an 1895 8th grade final exam from Salina, Kansas. And my question is to you, can you pass it without cheating? And what I mean by cheating, you cannot go to a computer, you cannot go to your cell phone, you can't go to any electronic device. All you have before you is a pad of paper and a pencil or a pen. That's all you got. And if you're willing to take the test, well, let's see how smart we think we are. So this one is grammar. Got 1 hour. And I will read you the questions. 1, give 9 rules for the use of capital letters. 2, name the parts of speech and define those that have no modifications. 3, define verse, stanza, and paragraph. 4, what are the principal parts of a verb? Give principal parts of do, lie, lay, and run. 5, define case, capital C. Illustrate each case. 6, what is punctuation? Give rules for principal marks of punctuation. 7 through 10, write a composition of about 150 words and show therein that you understand the practical use of the rules of grammar. Yeah, let me know how you do. Let's talk about arithmetic, math. 10 simple questions. 1, name and define the fundamental rule of arithmetic. 2, a wagon box is 2 feet deep, 10 feet long, and 3 feet wide. How many bushels of wheat will it hold? How many of you know what a bushel is? 3, if a load of wheat weighs 3,942 pounds, What is its worth at 50 cents per bale, deducting 1,050 pounds for tare? Waste. How many of you know what a tare is? 4. District number 33 has a valuation of $35,000. What is the necessary levy to carry on a school 7 months at $50 per month and have $104 for incidentals? 5. Find cost of 6,720 pounds of coal at $6 per ton. 6. Find the interest of $512.60 for 8 months and 18 days at 7%. 7. What is the cost of 40 boards 12 inches wide and 16 feet long at 20 cents per inch? 8. Find bank discount on $300 for 90 days, no grace, at 10%. 9. What is the cost of a square farm at $15 per acre, the distance around which is 640 rods? How many of us know what a rod is? 10. Write a bank check, a promissory note, and a receipt. Did I mention you only have less than an hour and a half? U.S. history. Have 45 minutes for this one. Give the epochs into which U.S. history is divided. How many of you even know what an epoch is? 2. Give an account of the discovery of America by Columbus. 3. Relate the causes and results of the Revolutionary War. 4. Show the territorial growth of the United States. 5. Tell what you can of history of Kansas. I give up on that one. 6. Describe 3 of the most prominent battles of the rebellion. The words they use have changed so much. 7. Who were the following? Morse, Whitney, Fulton, Bell, Lincoln, Penn, and Howe. 8. Name events connected with the following dates: 1607, 1620, 1800, 1849, and 1865. I could do pretty good on this one, but question 2 is one that stop and give pause to this. Think about the technology that we have advanced since this test was administered 1895, and realize how now, as we continue to dig deeper, we begin to find out that much of what we thought was history was not history at all. We know that Columbus never did discover America. Anyway, now, orthography. Now, that's a word that I had to look up, to be candid with you. It means spelling. So, and I never was that good of a speller. This one would be very difficult. I'm pretty sure I could do okay on it, but I don't know how many kids today graduating high school could do good on this one. For instance, what is meant by the following? Alphabet, phonetic spelling, etymology, and syllabification. 2. What are elementary sounds? How are they classified? 3. What are the following? And give examples of each: trigraph, subvocals, diphthong, Cognated letters, linguals. Give 4 substitute for the caret U. Give 2 rules for spelling words with final E. Name 2 exceptions under each rule. 6. Give 2 uses of silent letters in spelling. Illustrate each. 7. Define the following prefixes and use in connection with a word: by, dis, miss, pre, semi, post, non, inter, mono, super. Mark diacritically and divide into symbols the following: the name, the sign that indicates the sound: card, ball, mercy, sir, odd, sell, rise, blood, fair, last. 9. Use the following correctly in sentences: sight, that's a capital C, sight, S-I, sight, S-I-G-H-T, feign, F-A-N-E, feign, F-A-I-N, feign, F-E-I-G-N, vain, V-A-N-E, vain, V-A-I-N, vain, V-E-E-N, raise, R-A-Z-E, rise, excuse me, that is rise, rise, R-A-I-S-E, and raise, R-A-Y-S. This is most interesting. All right. 10. Write words frequently mispronounced and indicate pronunciation by use of diacritical marks and use simplification. Whoa. I don't know about you, but yeah. Okay. And by the way, you only had 1 hour to do all that. Geography, you got 1 hour on this one. Now, this will be one of these questions that if we applied it today, you see, this is where the future is dictating to the past. What we're learning, which would be their future, of which is our today, is that today we have learned by what the future is telling us that the past, that was their past, passed on to us, is not correct. That was a mouthful. So let's go with this. What is climate? Upon what does climate depend? 2, how do you account for the extremes of climate in Kansas? Now, isn't this odd? This was written 120, about 110, 115 years ago, and they were experiencing climatic issues then. 3, of what use are rivers? Of what use is the ocean? 4, describe the mountains in North America. 5, name and describe the following: Monrovia, Odessa, Denver, Manitoba, Helica, Yukon, St. Helena, Juan Fernandez, Aspinwall, and Orinoco. 6, name and locate the principal trade centers of the U.S. 7, name all the republics of Europe and give capital of each. Now, it's odd that they use the word republics. That's what the United States is too. We're not a democracy. We are a republic. 8, why is the Atlantic coast colder than the Pacific in the same latitude? 9, describe the process by which the water of the ocean returns to the source of rivers. 10, describe the movements of the earth. Give inclination of the earth. How'd you do? Pass or fail? That was supposed to be well known to an 8-year-old. I mean, excuse me, the 8th grade. Quite remarkable when you think about it. And when you look at how IQ or scores, 1 to 70 is low, 71 to 84 below average, 85 to 115 is average, 116 to 144 above average, 145 to 159 is high, and 160 plus is genius. And when you look how the world distribution of where the really smart people are, yeah, it's not the United States. Amazing, isn't it? How it changes. By the way, I just wanted to throw this in here. I think sometimes it's good to take things in perspective when you have so much indoctrination going on out there. You know why most people can't understand Trump? He's smarter than they are. In fact, there's only one that was actually smarter than Trump, and that's John Adams. John Adams was brilliant, nearly 170. And Trump at 156 holds second place with Jefferson and Kennedy and Clinton behind him. Amazing, isn't it? It's very obvious something is going on. Something is causing us to cognitively digress. I believe technology will drive us to extinction. I believe we're going to get so dependent, as we already are, on the machines that we've passed on our intelligence to them. Their intelligence couldn't exist unless they got it from us. We created them. And it may be, as it seems to always turn out, that the created ends up becoming the creator. Humanity is the decrease in our intelligence the thing that self-destructs us in how many years?